Hello, third graders. Today we are going to be reading our last book for our social issues unit, and it's called Those Shoes. This is a very good book, and I actually have my own copy. So I'm going to be turning the pages and reading my book while you look at the PowerPoint. All right, let me open it up. I have dreams about those shoes. Black high tops, two white stripes. Grandma, I want them. There's no room for want around here. Just need, Grandma says. And what you need are new boots for winter. So let's think about that. What does Grandma mean by there's no need for want around here? Just need. I'm thinking that, well, number one, he lives with his grandma. So for some reason, his parents are not able to take care of him or they're not living anymore. So it sounds like grandma is taking care of her grandson and money is a little bit tight for her. Brandon T comes to school in those shoes. He says he's the fastest runner now, not me. Oh, so just because he has new shoes, he's fast. I was always the fastest before those shoes came along. Nate comes to school in those shoes. Antonio and I count how many times Nate goes to the bathroom. 7 times in one day, just so he can walk up and down the hall real slow, meaning that he wants everybody obviously to pay attention to his shoes. But it's funny because when you walk to the restroom, no one really is in the hallway unless somebody else has to go to the bathroom too. So to me, it's kind of funny. Why would he do that? Especially when no one's out there. Next, Alan Jacoby and Terrence each get a pair. So if you look at the line for lunch, everybody has them on, except for our narrator. Then one day, in the middle of kickball, one of my shoes comes apart. Oh, he means that his shoe broke. Looks like you could use a new pair, Jeremy, Mr. Alfrey, the guidance counselor says. Oh, so now we know the narrator's name. His name is Jeremy. He brings out a box of shoes and other stuff he has for kids who need things. He helps me find the only shoes that are my size. Velcro, like the ones my little cousin Marshall wears. They have an animal on them from a cartoon I don't think any kid ever watched. He's saying that his little cousin has them, and I know, based on having a little nephew, that little kids don't know how to tie their shoes quite yet. So Velcro is easy for them. They are able to put the Velcro or put the strap down so it Velcros and pull it back up, because Miles is able to put his shoes on and off, but he does not know how to tie quite yet. So you can see the guidance counselor showing him the shoe in the picture. Uh-oh, what do you think is going on here? When I come back to the classroom, Alan Jacoby takes one look at my Mr. Alfrey shoes and laughs, and so do Terrence, Brandon T, and everyone else. The only kid not laughing is Antonio Parker. So in this, oops, wrong picture. In this picture, you can see Antonio in the back, and he's the one that's not laughing. At home, Grandma says, how kind of Mr. Alfrey. I nod and turn my back. I'm not going to cry about any dumb shoes. But when I'm writing my spelling words later, every word looks like the word shoes, and my grip is so tight on my pencil, I think it might bust. So he really wants those shoes, but it sounds to me like he just wants to fit in. And for some reason, if you don't have those shoes, you don't fit in, which is kind of sad. On Saturday, Grandma says, let's check out those shoes you're wanting so much. I got a little bit of money set aside. Might be enough. You never know. Ooh, so things are looking up for Jeremy. At the shoe store, Grandma turns those shoes over so she can check the price. When she sees it, she sits down heavy. Maybe they wrote it down wrong, I say. Grandma shakes her head. So I can tell and infer, even though it doesn't say, that Grandma is not able to pay for these shoes. They're too expensive. Then I remember the thrift shops. What if there's a rich kid who outgrew his or got 2 pairs for Christmas and had to give one of them away? We ride the bus to the first thrift store, or thrift shop. Black cowboy boots, pink slippers, sandals, high heels, and every kind of shoes except the ones I want. We ride the bus to the second thrift shop. Not a pair of shoes in sight. Around the corner is the third thrift shop. I see something in the window. Now, if you do not know, a thrift shop is a secondhand store like Goodwill or the Salvation Army, and they sell things that people actually had already purchased and have already used and or worn, or maybe just decided that they didn't want it anymore and never even used it or wore it. And now they gave it to a thrift store to sell at a lower cost or it costs less money to purchase it now because it's been used before. Black shoes with 2 white stripes, high tops, perfect shape, $2.50. Those shoes. My heart is pounding hard as I take off my shoes and hitch up my baggy socks. How exciting, Grandma says. What size are they? I shove my foot into the first shoe, curling my toes to get my heel in. I don't know, but I think they fit. I know that if you have to curl your toes, that they definitely do not fit. Grandma kneels on the floor and feels for my toes at the end of my shoe. Oh, Jeremy, she says, I can't spend good money on shoes that don't fit. I pull the other shoe on and try to walk around. They're okay, I say, holding my breath and praying that my toes will fall off right then and there. But my toes don't fall off. I buy them anyway with my own money, and I squeeze them on and limp to the bus stop. I don't know if you guys have ever had shoes that don't fit, but it does not feel good. Your feet definitely hurt. And if he has to wear them to school the whole day, I hope he packed the other ones in his backpack. At home, a few days later, Grandma puts a new pair of snow boots in my closet and doesn't say a word about my 2 big feet shuffling around in my 2 small shoes. Sometimes shoes stretch, I say. Grandma gives me a hug. And that's correct. I know that I wear Toms a lot, and they do stretch, but they don't stretch for quite a bit of time. I don't think I've had any other shoes that stretch, though. I check every day, but those shoes don't stretch. I have to wear my Mr. Alfrey's to school instead. One day during math, I glance at Antonio's shoes. One of them is taped up, and his feet look smaller than mine. Oh, so Antonio needs shoes too, if he has to tape them up. After school, I head to the park to think. Antonio is there, the only kid who didn't laugh at my Mr. Alfrey's shoes. So he's playing by himself. He seems like he's a quiet kid if I have to think of his character traits. Why was he the only one that didn't laugh? Think about the shoes that he has on. Is that why he didn't laugh? We shoot baskets. A loose piece of tape in Antonio's shoe smacks the concrete every time he jumps. I think I'm not going to do it. We leap off the swings. I'm not going to do it. What is he talking about? We race from one end of the playground to the other. I'm not going to do it, I say. Do what? Antonio says, breathing hard. So at first he was saying it in here. And then he said it out loud. And Antonio was like, what in the world is he talking about? So we will find out. Grandma calls me for supper and invites Antonio over too. After supper, he spies my shoes. How come you don't wear them? Antonio asks. I shrug. My hands are sweaty. I can feel him wishing those shoes were his. I wonder why Jeremy just didn't tell him that they don't fit. That night, I am awake for a long time thinking about Antonio. When morning comes, I try on my shoes one last time. I make a prediction. What is he going to do with his shoes? Why did he have to put them on one last time? Meaning that he's not going to have them anymore. Before I can change my mind, my shoes are in my coat. Snow is beginning to fall as I run across the street to Antonio's apartment. I put the shoes in front of his door, push the doorbell, and run. Well, why did he run? He doesn't want Antonio to know that they're his or that he's giving them to him? At school, Antonio is smiling big in his brand new shoes. I feel happy when I look at his face and mad when I look at my Mr. Alfrey's shoes. But later, when it's time for recess, something happens. Everywhere there is snow. Leave your shoes in the hall and change into your boots, the teacher announces. Oh, shoot, I just lost my spot. Leave your shoes in the hall. It's then I remember what I have in my backpack. New boots. New black boots that no kid has ever worn before. Standing in line to go to recess, Antonio leans forward and says, "Thanks." I smile and give him a nudge. So all along, Antonio knew who had given him the shoes. Let's race. So being thoughtful and kind is very good. Now, it's not great that he bought shoes that were too small. However, something good did come out of him buying those too small of shoes. All right, I hope you like this story as much as I do. There's a lot to learn in this. A lot of good comes out of this book. Go back to Google Classroom and see what you need to do next. All right, see you later.